light and whispers. Two hearts met where knowledge ruled, yet desire lingered in the shadows. A young woman, bright and curious, walked the stone corridors of a great university. Her eyes searched for something she could not name. A man of quiet authority, revered by many, carried a loneliness few could see. Something stirred when their glances met. Something forbidden, fragile and undeniable. At first it was only subtle. A smile exchanged in lecture halls. A shared book left on a desk. Words written carefully, hidden between pages. But curiosity became longing. Longing became letters tucked away in secret corners. Each word a risk, each sentence a confession. The city watched silently. Cafés held shadows that whispered their meetings. The Seine reflected the tension of stolen moments. Society's eyes were everywhere, yet they moved as if invisible. Every touch of a pen, every fold of paper carried a weight heavier than words. They knew the cost, yet could not stop. Love had chosen them, and rules were powerless. Whispers began to spread. A glance noticed. A shadow followed. Every heartbeat carried danger, and yet desire burned brighter than caution. What happens when hearts defy tradition? When passion breaks the rules? When two people risk everything for something the world refuses to allow? Their story was hidden yet timeless. Their letters a trail of longing and courage, and now it is about to be revealed. How are you, good friend? Let's start off with a story from Paris, where love, fear, and drama filled the stories that quietly lurked in whispered corners and on forgotten pages from history. It's called the Sorbonne Lovers. It's about two people who found love in a world loaded with challenges and fear. Once upon a time in the charming town of Paris, at the prestigious Sorbonne University, there lived a man highly respected for his intelligence and loved for teaching. He led by example, carrying himself with a quiet elegance. The students listened intently to every word that this wise man spoke. His discussions on literature and philosophy filled the room with energy, and he'd spark the curiosity of even the most laid-back minds. While there too was a young girl full of questions, dreaming big for the world outside. Her days were laden with classes, reading books, and trying to find her place in the big wide world. She was bold in her thoughts but gentle in her heart, someone who radiated a light that simply couldn't be ignored. On one particular lecture, amidst the buzzing of students taking notes and sharing ideas, they crossed paths. It was in those rare moments that their eyes locked for a split second. They felt everything from people writing on their desks to the echoes around them. Within those moments, they felt a connection, something they were both hesitant to let out. At first, it was just subtle glances and smaller moments during class. But as time went by, those moments grew. A question asked during class transformed into a longer discussion. A book recommended became a meeting at the library. The man known for his knowledge came to look more human and vulnerable. And so the story of their lives started. It turned into something more. It developed into a space where knowledge crossed paths with passion, where a mentor and a student embarked on a journey society wouldn't easily accept. This was the beginning. The journey that took them on a path too strong to hide, too fragile to withstand, and too scandalous to be forgotten. At first, their exchanges seemed harmless. Long conversations about books, art, and philosophy. She admired his brilliance. He admired her curiosity. But beneath those discussions, something unspoken began to grow. One evening after a lecture, he offered to walk her home. The streets of Paris glowed under the soft yellow lamps, the air thick with spring rain. For a moment, silence filled the night, until their eyes met, and what was forbidden became undeniable. They began writing to each other, exchanging notes tucked inside books and letters slipped into secret places. Each word carried a weight, a risk. A professor and his student, their bond was not meant to exist in the eyes of society, but love rarely asks for permission. Soon their meetings became more frequent, quiet dinners, stolen walks by the Seine, moments that felt timeless yet fragile. They knew discovery would mean scandal. He could lose his career, she could lose her future. And yet, every choice they made drew them deeper into a story they could no longer control. The Sorbonne had seen centuries of scholars, but now it was witnessing something else entirely. A love that defied rules. A love written in whispers and shadows. So there I was, living in the 1920s Parisian scene. At this point, my professor and I had just hit that invisible line between mentor and buddy, everything being kept quiet and private. From those little notes of encouragement to confessions of affection and desire. It started off just being the teacher helping the student with their studies, talking about literature, philosophy, and art. But as time went by, it felt like their relationship had grown deeper, full of longing, love, and something they were better off not touching. At first, they thought they could sneak it through. After all, Paris was known for its love stories and its romantic cafés and bridges by the Seine. But within that campus, the rules were a bit different. Here, reputation mattered, so there were consequences if you went too far. At first, the teacher tried to push back, remembering the risks he ran, his career, his status within society, his family's honor, but his heart just couldn't listen to reason. So even though he meant well, he kept on writing to her, meeting her, and placing himself in danger for her. For the student, it wasn't just love, it was freedom too. She saw in this relationship a chance to explore a world beyond her own, full of ideas, passion, and bravery. He taught her how to find strength and saw her own personality change within his eyes. But the voices of the world were already starting to talk. A little too much eye flirtation at that lecture hall. An unintentionally left note on a classroom desk. Some gossip chatter from the cafés. And because of this secret, the lovers were no longer just hidden. The storm that had begun with whispers and stolen glances was now gaining force. Every letter, every hidden meeting, every moment of closeness was weighed down by the possibility of discovery. Etienne and Claire knew that each passing day made their bond more dangerous, yet neither could pull away. Paris itself seemed to conspire against them. Streets glistened under the evening rain as they walked, hands brushing, hearts racing, words unspoken yet understood. Their conversations had evolved from literature and philosophy to the deepest corners of their fears, their hopes, and their secret desires. At Sorbonne, a sharp-eyed colleague began noticing Claire's frequent visits to Etienne's office. Rumors like sparks in dry grass started to spread. They could hear the subtle murmurs in lecture halls, the faint laughter that seemed to follow them. Yet the allure of their connection was stronger than caution. One evening, Claire slipped a folded note into Etienne's books, unaware that another student had glimpsed the exchange. The risk of scandal was no longer theoretical, it was real. The professor's career, once secure and revered, now trembled on the edge of exposure. Claire's future, bright with promise, hung in uncertainty, and yet in the quiet corners of cafés along the Seine, their love found its sanctuary. Candlelight reflected in their eyes. Shadows danced on the walls, and for a brief hour, the world outside did not exist. In those moments, Paris was not a city of judgment, but a city of lovers, a place that dared them to feel, to risk, to love without restraint. But each stolen moment carried its own weight. Each hidden letter was a battle between desire and duty, passion and prudence. They began to wonder, how long could this delicate balance last before it shattered? And when it did, what would remain of them, their love, their dreams, their courage? The whispers had grown louder. In the lecture halls of Sorbonne, sideways glances were no longer subtle. Students exchanged knowing looks. A note left carelessly could be intercepted, and each meeting outside the classroom carried the weight of imminent exposure. Paris, the city of lovers, was now also a city of judgment for Etienne and Claire. Etienne felt the tension deep in his chest. His lectures, once a sanctuary of intellect and passion, now became a stage where eyes and rumors tracked his every gesture. Claire's once carefree presence in the library now drew quiet suspicion. Yet neither could stop. The bond between them had grown too powerful to deny. One rainy evening, as they met by the Seine under the soft glow of street lamps, Etienne whispered, "Every moment we share could ruin us." Claire's eyes, glistening in the dim light, held equal parts fear and defiance. "Then let it," she replied softly, "but at least we will have lived our truth." Letters now carried confessions heavier than ever. They wrote not just of love, but of dreams of escape, of a future where society's rules could not dictate their hearts. Every folded page tucked into books, every secret meeting in quiet cafés, became both a thrill and a peril. Meanwhile, gossip had spread beyond the university. Parisian cafés were abuzz with speculation. A classmate's careless remark reached a faculty member. The professor's reputation was subtly threatened, Claire's intentions questioned, and the invisible walls that once protected them were crumbling. Yet in stolen hours they found solace. Hidden corners of the city, small cafés with dim candlelight, and quiet walks along the Seine became their world. Here they laughed, whispered dreams, and allowed themselves fleeting freedom. But the storm outside their private moments loomed closer each day. For the first time they both realized that love, as intoxicating and vital as it was, demanded courage. Courage to stand against tradition, against judgment, and against the unrelenting gaze of society. The question now loomed. Could love survive when every choice carried the risk of ruin? SFX tense swell, rain intensifies dramatic pause. And so as Paris watched silently, Etienne and Claire prepared for the moment when their love would no longer remain hidden, when the storm would break, and when they would be forced to choose between their hearts and the world around them. My dear friend, the storm that had been building for months finally broke. Whispers turned into accusations, glances became pointed, and the once hidden letters were discovered. Sorbonne University, a place of centuries of learning, now became the stage for a scandal that no one could ignore. Etienne sat at his desk, hands trembling over a pile of letters. He had always known the risks, yet seeing the evidence laid bare made his heart pound with fear. Claire arrived, soaked from the sudden Paris rain, eyes wide with both anxiety and defiance. Students and faculty began to murmur in the halls, gossip spreading like wildfire. The integrity of a respected professor was questioned. The reputation of a young student scrutinized. Every choice, every glance, every secret note now seemed to hang in the air like a verdict waiting to be delivered. Yet amidst the chaos, their bond remained unbroken. In a quiet cafe hidden from prying eyes, Etienne took Claire's hands in his and whispered, "No matter what they say, no matter what they take from us, what we have is ours." Claire's eyes shimmered with tears, yet she smiled. "Then let them watch. Our hearts cannot lie." Letters that once carried fear now carried courage. Each word became a testament to their defiance, to the truth that love cannot always follow rules, and that passion, once awakened, refuses to be silenced. In the weeks that followed, the scandal rippled through the city. Careers were questioned, families expressed concern, and the couple faced difficult choices. But through every challenge they discovered that love, though tested, could endure. Paris had witnessed both the fragility and the strength of their hearts. And so, the story of the Sorbonne Lovers became legend, not just as a tale of forbidden love, but as a story of courage, of risking everything for the truth of the heart. A story whispered in corners, written in letters, remembered in the quiet streets of Paris and never forgotten. And thus, my dear friend, the Sorbonne Lovers left their mark, not on history books, but on the hearts of all who dared to love in the face of impossibility. Dear friends, what you just heard is only one of many secrets time has hidden. Join loading, and together we'll unlock more real stories of the past. Don't miss what history never wanted you to remember.